That's not true. There's a better way. "30 years ago, an alien ship crashed in Kansas, United States of America. 3 years ago, the world's most powerful superhero introduced himself as Superman. 3 weeks ago, this same hero stopped an armed conflict between Boravia and Jarhampur. And although Kal-El's intentions were good, the controversy over these actions spread around the world. 3 hours ago, Superman was defeated in battle for the first time by an enemy known as the Hammer of Boravia. But fortunately, our protagonist is not alone in this adventure." Welcome to another video on NEGAYO's channel. Today, we'll discuss Superman. A movie that, it must be said, has given people a lot to talk about because it's a new beginning for detective comics in cinema. I know opinions on this adaptation vary, but for now let's focus on the story and save criticism for during or after the video. Sound good? And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. After crashing in Antarctica, after being defeated by the Hammer of Boravia, Krypto, Superman's #1 hater, is the one who takes him to the Fortress of Solitude. Because yes, here we do have a beautiful Fortress of Solitude, by the way, and it activates as soon as it detects Kal-El nearby. Clark is cared for by his robots after suffering multiple injuries in his last fight. It's not just his body that needs to heal, since the hero's path is often difficult. Superman uses the message from his Kryptonian parents. Though incomplete and damaged, it motivates him to do his best and keep helping humanity. Obviously, that's what they would have wanted. It's not like Bradley Cooper is going to be evil. Of course not, please, don't say nonsense. We love you more than the sky, our son. We love you more than the earth. What Superman didn't count on is that all this time, they had been following him, looking for his fortress. And even though the hero hasn't regained all his strength yet, he doesn't hesitate for a moment to return to the battle, in Metropolis protecting the innocent. Of course, this entire fight has been closely watched by the real villain of this movie, none other than Lex Luthor himself, who studied all of Superman's moves for years, thus creating a series of maneuvers to defeat him when the time comes. The Hammer of Boravia seems invincible and ends up defeating Superman once again. People still believe our hero is good, honoring every time he risked himself to protect Metropolis. Others are ready to follow his example, like Malik Ali, who quickly runs to help him. By the way, this woman, known as the Engineer, has managed to discover the location of the Fortress of Solitude. Lex declares his battle with Superman over and celebrates with his team and girlfriend, Eve the Smasher. On the outskirts of the city, we see that Luthor also has an entire team guarding. A dimensional portal leads to his building, where it's revealed the Hammer of Boravia is actually Ultraman and works for the game, this evil Galvo. Maybe you shouldn't have done that in Jarhampur, Superman. The next day, we have a bit of Clark Kent struggling to get to work, scolded by his boss, talking to his parents Martha and Jonathan, and congratulated by friend Jimmy Olsen for a front-page article, and dealing with all the comments about the Boravia political issue. Not just from that country's president, who denies knowing Hammer, but also from Lois Lane, who obviously doesn't really agree with Superman's actions for having intervened in that conflict. Isn't it odd you have so many Superman interviews? In fact, this becomes much clearer when, after this couple has breakfast at night and kisses even off camera, Clark agrees to give Lois an interview as Superman. "Can I interview you as Superman?" Oh, 12 seconds later, and I would stop to consider the consequences. A lot of people were going to die. The truth is, this doesn't end well. As mentioned earlier, even though Superman meant well to save the people of Jarhampur, he actually caused a total political disaster. Boravia is now questioning its ties with the United States, and Clark doesn't get why everyone is upset just because he saved oppressed, innocent people. Does this world stop you from being good? "I'm doing well. Superman, did you tell the president you are entering Boravian airspace?" Lois is right. Our world has rules and things are complicated, but you can also see why Clark is frustrated. He has the power to save lives, and all he gets are criticisms from the government and people on the internet. This situation is about to get more complicated as Lex Luthor met with the Department of Defense to argue that Superman is violating international treaties and poses a global threat. This bald guy has no luck in negotiations. Despite Superman's mistake of intervening in Yarhampur without warning, everyone knows he's good. He helps people and flies and helps people and flies and helps people. So Colonel Rick Flag and company end up rejecting him. As for Lois and Clark, the latter ends up so upset with the interview situation that he simply decides to leave, before having to keep facing tough though valid questions.
I knew this wouldn't work. What do you mean? Nothing. It's just that relationships aren't my thing.
Meanwhile, Lex Luthor and his team of thugs have arrived at the location of the Fortress of Solitude. But how did this villain manage to gain access to this place? That's the question. Ultraman and the engineer not only managed to destroy all the robots in the place, but they also neutralized Crypto. And they managed to access the fortress's database to look for any information that could be useful to tarnish Superman's image. To keep him busy, they've left him a little distraction in the middle of Metropolis. A strange creature that grows every moment and becomes a big problem for the superhero. Especially because even though it's a strange monster, Clark wants to keep it alive while he figures out what to do with it. Sadly, his good intentions are dashed by the Justice Gang's arrival. That's not our name. A team with Guy Garner, possibly Detective Comics' most conceited Green Lantern and Batman's biggest hater, and Tug Girl. Everything's fine with her and Mr. Terrific, one of the smartest humans in the world, and who, on top of that, also has the power to judge harshly with his gaze. Huh? They are all sponsored by industries. Lordage, from Maxwell Lord, who was previously played by Pedrito Pascal in The Extinct of So. At the start of Pedro Pascal fever, when Pedro Pascal was suddenly everywhere. Want to watch a movie? Which one? The one with Pedro Pascal or the one with Pedro Pascal? Or do you prefer to stay home and watch a series? Which one? The one with Pedro Pascal or the one with Pedro Pascal? I'm looking for a way to get him out of here alive, to take him somewhere we can study him. Anyway, going back to the movie, Superman has no choice but to take care of the collateral damage, saving lives, the lives of citizens who simply have no survival instinct. Who records and plays near a 100-meter tall monster ridiculous. Despite the hero's efforts, the poor creature is killed, and at that moment things get even worse. Luthor was revealing in an interview that Superman had been sent to our planet to conquer it, and this time he had evidence with him. Its inhabitants are simple and they're confused. He rules the planet as the last son of Krypton. Take as many women as you can. I'm scared, I admit it, I'm scared. The message from his Kryptonian parents had been fully restored, and it basically confirmed all of Luthor's fears. Superman was sent to Earth to conquer it, similar to Omni-Man or Goku. The worst part is that in the video, they said Superman had to impregnate every woman he met. This is fully authentic, confirmed by top linguists, the Department of Defense, Mr. Terrific, and James Gunn. In case it wasn't clear enough, how could anyone not think it's real? I don't know. By the way, did you know there's a comic where Superman actually has to repopulate the world after all the men on the planet died from a virus? Yeah, it's not really related to the movie, but I just read it and wanted you to know. It's a little bizarre. That's Wonder Woman with the essence of Superman. Someday I'll talk about this. But going back, yeah, I know, what a disappointment Jor-El turned out to be, this guy. Do they have something against Superman's parents in the movies? In the end, what he's really afraid of, from what I explained, is that Superman will steal all the women in the world. Let's hope he never meets Jimmy Olsen, who even won over this millionaire's girlfriend. A key detail for later. The world turns against the superhero. More online criticism from Metropolis citizens, the Bravia president, and Peacemaker. Imagine that none of this surprises me. Clivis. These kinds of people have dark and dirty secrets. This revelation leaves Superman vulnerable, and after a moment he flies to his fortune, only to find the place in ruins, discovering that they had even kidnapped Crypto. How unhappy must you be to bother a small dog? The entire evil plan that ex-Luthor has developed for years in alliance with the weird old president of Baravia is finally paying off. Luthor has not only managed to destroy Superman in combat, but he has also corrupted the superhero's image. So much so that the Department of Defense has decided to take drastic measures to contain him. Unfortunately, Clark can't do anything. Neither to blame the ex for everything that's happening, nor to prove that he's manipulating the media with sensationalism. In the end, he has no choice but to turn himself in to the authorities, since this is the only way he might be able to find Crypto. He's a dog. Yes, he doesn't even listen to me, but he's out there alone. After Superman surrendered, he was brought to the military base where the X hid one of his portals. Here, Luthor imprisons him in a pocket universe while explaining his evil plans, and he manages to keep the superhero at bay with the help of Metamorpho. In this place, we not only find a bunch of Superman haters, but we also see Krypto trapped along with other political enemies from different governments, and even some of Luthor's ex-girlfriends. That's how messed up this guy is. He even has Metamorpho's son captured. Do you want your daddy? While Superman remains locked up, Baravia is getting ready once again to invade Yarkhan. Currently, no one can stop them. And since Lois Lane isn't one to sit idle, she's also found out the X has been practically giving weapons to Baravia. So she doesn't rule out that this bald guy is allied with President Basil Garkos. See, this wasn't enough to find Superman's location. Luckily, Jimmy and all of mine, Olsen has a contact with Luthor's people. He just wants my information, Jimmy. I just think that if I found out something shady about him, maybe you and I could we be together? On the other hand, Lois Lane goes to the Justice Gang with this information. No, that's not what they're called. To ask for their help. Since they're a commercial group funded by Lord Tej, it's not in their interest to get involved in politics or anything like that, just to protect their image. Do you know who Clark Kent is? What's wrong with him and why does he trust everyone? Mr. Terrific is the only one who bothers to investigate a bit about Superman's whereabouts, thanks to some trackers he implanted in his bloodstream. Son of a... He managed to find out that his signal was lost at that former military base, called Fort Kramer. Neither Guy nor Kendra cared to look for Superman, so Lois Lane is left to handle it. And Terrificoso arrives at this place to give us one of the best scenes in the whole movie. Fire! I can't believe it. That jerk made a pocket universe. Meanwhile, we see the former Luthor willing to do anything to get information from Superman. And that includes sacrificing innocent people in the process. Who raised you when you were a child? Don't say anything, Superman. I have no family and I'm alone. I want to lie. No, don't tell him. This display of brutality is enough for Metamorpho to reflect on this situation. And finally, he gathers the courage needed to create a small yellow sun and thus restore the Kryptonians' powers. In this way, Superman manages to rescue Joy and also Krypto, but the guards of this prison are not going to let them escape so easily. Even without being at 100% of his abilities, Superman encounters them while swimming through an anti-proton river with his flying dog. In this pocket universe, while they're being dragged into a black hole, what? Yeah, side note. But you have no idea how happy it makes me that superhero movies are finally leaving all that realistic stuff behind to give us all these fantastic elements in movies that are supposed to be fantastic. I get that tone works for some movies, but I don't think it should be the norm for all superheroes. End of the opinion nobody asked for. As I was saying, even though Superman wasn't fully recovered, he was still able to save everyone. Thanks to Mr. Terrific and Lois Lane, they escaped just before the portal closed. I think this detail went a bit unnoticed, but it's something I really liked. That's because Clark was still poisoned by kryptonite radiation. When he got up, he immediately mentioned there were still prisoners in the pocket universe and offered to return for them. Mr. Terrific didn't let him because of his poor condition, and the portal no longer worked. Both Lois and Superman leave this military base, and during this time they take refuge at the Kent farm so Clark can recover.
Our son will be fine.
Yes, Mr. Terrific says so. Look at him there, worried about his son. He's not asking for 5 tacos in serious moments. Please, take good care of him, James Gunn. By the way, Lex wasn't amused at all when he found out about the escape of this extremely dangerous alien with reproductive intentions, was he? Luthor is so out of control that even Eve decides to stop him. Unfortunately, she's caught just as she sends all the evidence to Jimmy Olsen. Between Lois and Jimmy, they manage to figure out that Eva's photos contain a lot of clues to expose the former Luthor. Meanwhile, this villain, desperate to find Superman, decides to forcefully reopen this portal in order to destroy everything in his past and thus force the hero to come to the rescue. At this point, it's very important to remember that Clark is not only physically defeated, but his morale is still shattered, after learning his Kryptonian parents weren't as he believed. Fortunately, as I mentioned earlier, we now have a great Jonathan Kent who helps his son move forward with just a few words.
I'm not who I thought I was. Parents aren't here to tell their children what they should be in life. Your decisions are what make you the man you are. Today, I couldn't be prouder of you.
The news reports that it's only a matter of minutes before Baravia crosses the border into Jarhampur. That's why Clark is willing to go and save this innocent town.
Men, women, and children still hopeful in Superman.
Unfortunately, the dimensional fissure keeps advancing, so to save the whole world, they first have to find a way to stop it. Metropolis is ordering a mandatory evacuation. It shows how serious things are if people would rather go to Gotham. Everyone starts leaving except for the main team at the Daily Planet, who have been busy deciphering all of Luthor's plans. Weapons sold for half of Baravia? The SN AI fans, I mean the monkey haters, the hammer hoax, and the miserable Fisher disaster, buckle up, because I don't have a seat. Jimmy, do you want to transcribe? Just look at that Lois Lane reporter dictating the news while flying a flying saucer over a city that's splitting in half. Wonder Woman was right when she said this. And you, Louisa Lane, do you have the heart of an Amazon? And yes, Superman does his thing too, saving the life of a woman who was almost crushed by a building. What an incredible scene. Despite everything, reaching Lex won't be easy because of the Architect and Ultraman following Luthor's orders. At this point, the evil bald guy no longer intends to keep playing with Superman, and his only goal is to kill this superhero. I don't know about you, but honestly, I did get nervous in the theater during this fight. I really thought they were finally going to kill the superstud. The Baravia president ordered the invasion to begin, and even though there weren't many options before running out of breath, Clark started to rise up into the atmosphere. He let himself fall and hit the ground hard, taking the veterinarian out of action and in the process eliminating all the nanites inside his body. Thanks to this, it is also revealed that Ultraman is actually a clone of Superman himself. They entered the Fortress of Solitude earlier because the Kryptonian's DNA was the key. Although at first Lex still had the advantage in the fight, it seems that Clark now knows his clone can take his punches. And little by little, he's managing to catch up to his enemy, making Luthor's plans even worse. In the end, the Justice Gang and Metamorpho were convinced to intervene against the invasion of Jarhampur. And as if that wasn't enough, Hawkerl even killed Basil Gurgos. I know you're not going to kill me. I'm not like Superman. And this will probably have a lot of repercussions later on. Superman couldn't come, but something better came. Even with the failed invasion, in Lex's words, he couldn't care less about this. He just wanted an excuse to kill Superman. That's why from the beginning he was the one who caused this conflict with Jarhampur, to force the hero to intervene and then manipulate the United States government into authorizing Superman's imprisonment. Put simply, without Lex's envy, there wouldn't have been a movie. I'm not sure if we should hate or thank him.
So is my envy a purpose? It's humanity's only hope because that's exactly what has led me to destroy myself.
Anyway, Superman manages to subdue Ultraman with the help of Krypto. The Raptors aren't much help either, and Clark can defeat them in just a few seconds. And in the end, the bizarre clone ends up being thrown into the black hole. Knowing that he had already failed, Lex tries to escape, but it's useless. And now comes the superhero's motivational speech.
I'm as human as anyone. I know love and feel fear too. I make mistakes many times, but that's what being human is about, and that's my greatest strength.
The bad thing is that we already know Lex will never understand the easy way, but that's why we have Krypto. Did he really deserve it? The fissure is closed and Metropolis is returning to normal. Meanwhile, the Daily Planet has managed to expose Lex Luthor's entire evil plan to the world, causing him to end up in Bellry Prison. The Justice Gang is not our name. They're also celebrated for helping Jarhampur, and who knows? I thought this sincere ovation made the group members very happy. So maybe this is the first step to becoming real superheroes, following Superman's example of acting on your own, doing the right thing. What a cool name. Did you get in? Super Predator gives Lois Lane a strong interview and she admits she loves him. And it seems that after all, at least for now, everything will be fine. Supergirl, after spending time at a space bar, finally returns for Crypto. Clark honored Malik Ali, and the robots in the fortress self-repaired. Maybe in the end, the story about the Kryptonian conquerors and breeders was true. But Superman chose his own path on Earth, inspired by the love of Martha and Jonathan Kent, two simple farmers from Smallville. For me, this is one of the best and most beautiful superhero scenes in cinema. Because in a time when people focus on the negative and think only of themselves, being kind, gentle, and selfless when helping others without expecting anything in return, maybe, just maybe,
Maybe that's what punk rock reflects.
And so, in this way, this is how this story ends. Sharing my opinion, I think I've said many times that I really like this movie, maybe even in the theater. It didn't reach $1 billion or pay off Mexico's foreign debt to be seen as a success, as some inflationists claim. But well, what can I say? My favorite movies always flop at the box office, so I don't see that as a measure of quality. I don't even pay attention to professional critics because I think in the end, what matters most is your own opinion. A movie that makes you laugh, worry, feel emotions, and becomes a memorable experience. And if in the end you didn't like this movie, I think that's perfectly fine too. There are adaptations for everyone, so there's no need to offend others. I have to say, this is the most Superman we've seen in movies this century. Honestly, I think it's the character's best movie ever, even if you find it silly to watch him fight. He saves a kaiju, owns robots and a flying dog, and gets involved in politics. There's so much wild science in this universe, and the character sees himself as human, not an all-powerful god. Well, I'm sorry to say it, but if you think this whole atmosphere is silly, then don't you like Superman? Still, I suggest some great stories about this superhero so you can get to know him better. Friends, remember to comment below, subscribe, and turn on notifications to catch all new content. And in the meantime, there's nothing left for me to say but a huge thank you for stopping by, guys. We'll see each other soon. My name is Alex for the NEGAYO channel.
I'm amazed by how reckless I can be.